All right. Good morning, everyone. I hope you are excellent today. Welcome to this Sunday. And for those who are asking questions about me, uh, I am okay at this moment. We are having some freezing rain at the moment, and it is 29 degrees Fahrenheit. So probably negative something Celsius. I don't know. What is that? -6? Who knows? Good times. So, anyways, hi, welcome. West Tennessee Dave here, live to you today from Twitch, starting at 6:33 Central Time, and available to you on YouTube at some point later in the day. Good to see you all this morning. Hope you are wonderful. All right, today we are reading part 5, the story of Abraham from the Bible. We're going to be reading quite a section today, Genesis 17 through 25, if you want to follow along. And if you're just here to listen as well, great. Let's get started. When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to him and said, I am El Shaddai, God Almighty. Serve me faithfully and live blameless life. I will make a covenant with you, by which I will guarantee to give you countless descendants. At this, Abram fell face down on the ground. Then God said to him, This is my covenant with you. I will make you the father of a multitude of nations. What's more, I'm changing your name. You will no longer be Abram. Instead, you will be called Abraham, for you will be the father of many nations. I will make you extremely fruitful. Your descendants will become many nations, and kings will be among them. I will confirm my covenant with you and your descendants after you, from generation to generation. This is the everlasting covenant. I will always be your God and the God of your descendants after you. And I will give the entire land of Canaan, where you now live as a foreigner, to you and your descendant. It will be their possession forever, and I will be their God. Then God said to Abraham, Your responsibility is to obey the terms of the covenant. You and your descendants have this continual responsibility. This is the covenant that you and your descendants must keep. Each male among you must be circumcised. You must cut off the flesh of your foreskin as a sign of the covenant between me and you. From generation to generation, every male child must be circumcised on the 8th day after his birth. This applies not only to members of your family, but also to the servants born in your household and the foreign-born servants whom you have purchased. All must be circumcised. Your bodies will bear the mark of my everlasting covenant. Any male who fails to be circumcised will be cut off from the covenant for breaking the covenant. Then God said to Abraham, Regarding Sarai, your wife, her name will no longer be Sarai. From now on, her name will be Sarah, and I will bless her and give you a son from her. Yes, I will bless her richly, and she will become the mother of many nations. King of nations will be among her descendants. Then Abraham bowed to the ground, but he laughed to himself in disbelief. How could I become a father at the age of 100, he thought. How could Sarah have a baby when she is 90 years old? So Abraham said to God, May Ishmael live under your special blessing. But God replied, No, Sarah, your wife, will give birth to a son for you. You will name him Isaac, and I will confirm my covenant with him and his descendants as an everlasting covenant. As for Ishmael, I will bless him also, just as you have asked. I will make him extremely fruitful and multiply his descendants. He will become the father of 12 princes, and I will make him a great nation. But my covenant will be confirmed with Isaac, who will be born to you and Sarah about this time next year. When God had finished speaking, he left Abraham. On that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael, and every male in his household, including those born there and those he had bought, Then he circumcised them, cutting off their foreskins, just as God had told him. Abram, Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and Ishmael, his son, was 13. Both Abraham and his son Ishmael were circumcised on that same day, along with all the other men and boys of the household, whether they were born there or born as servants. All were circumcised with him. The Lord appeared again to Abraham near the oak grove to Mamre. One day Abraham was sitting at the entrance to his tent during the hottest part of the day. He looked up and noticed 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he ran to meet them and welcomed them, bowing low to the ground. "My lord," he said, "if it pleases you, stop here for a while. Rest in the shade of this tree while water is brought to wash your feet. And since you've honored your servant with this visit, let me prepare some food to refresh you before you continue on your journey." "All right," they said. "Do as you have said." So Abraham ran back to the tent and said to Sarah, "Hurry, get 3 large measures of your best flour, knead it into some dough, and bake some bread." Then Abraham ran to the herd and chose a tender calf, and he gave it to his servants, who quickly prepared it. When the food was ready, Abraham took some yogurt and milk and the roasted meat, and he served it to the men. As they ate, Abraham waited on them in the shade of the trees. "Where is Sarah, your wife?" the visitors asked. "She's inside the tent," Abraham replied. Then one of them said, "I will return to you about this time next year, and your wife Sarah will have a son." Sarah was listening to this conversation from the tent. Abraham and Sarah were both very old by this time, and Sarah was long past the age of having children. So she laughed silently to herself and said, "How could a worn out woman like me enjoy such pleasure, especially when my master, my husband, is also so old?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, 'Can an old woman like me have a baby?' Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return about this time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she denied it, saying, "I didn't laugh." But the Lord said, "No, you did laugh." Abraham, oh, then the men got up from their meal and looked out toward Sodom. As they left, Abraham went with them to send them on their way. "Should I hide my plan from Abraham?" the Lord asked. "For Abraham will certainly become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed through him. I have singled him out so that he will direct his sons and their families to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just. Then I'll do for Abraham all that I have promised." So the Lord told Abraham, "I have heard a great outcry from Sodom and Gomorrah, because their sin is so flagrant. I'm going down to see if their actions are as wicked as I have heard. If not, I want to know." The other men turned and headed toward Sodom, but the Lord remained with Abraham. Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away both the righteous and the wicked? Suppose you find 50 righteous people living there in the city. Will you still sweep it away and not spare it for their sakes? Surely you wouldn't do such a thing, destroying the righteous along with the wicked. Why, you would be treating the righteous and the wicked exactly the same. Surely you wouldn't do that. Should not the judge of all the earth do what is right?" And the Lord replied, "If I find 50 righteous people in Sodom, will spare the entire city for their sake." Then Abraham spoke again, "Since I have begun, let me speak further to my Lord, even though I am but dust and ashes. Suppose there are only 45 righteous people rather than 50. Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5? And the Lord said, "I will not destroy it if I find 45 righteous people there." Then Abraham pressed his request further, "Suppose there are only 40. And the Lord replied, "I will not destroy it for the sake of the 40. Please don't be angry, my Lord." Abraham pleaded, "Let me speak. Suppose only 30 righteous people are found." And the Lord replied, "I will not destroy it if I find 30. Then Abraham said, "Since I have dared to speak to the Lord, let me continue. Suppose there are only 20. And the Lord replied, "Then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 20." Finally, Abraham said, "Lord, please don't be angry with me if I speak one more time. Suppose only 10 are found there." And the Lord replied, "Then I will not destroy it for the sake of the 10." When the Lord had finished his conversation with Abraham, he went on his way, and Abraham returned to his tent. That evening, 2 angels came to the entrance of the city of Sodom. Lot was sitting there, and when he saw them, he stood up to meet them. Then he welcomed them and bowed with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "come to my home to wash your feet and be my guests for the night. You may then get up early in the morning and be on your way." "Oh no," they replied. "We'll just spend the night out here in the city square." But Lot insisted. So at last they went home with him. Lot prepared a feast for them, complete with fresh bread made without yeast, and they ate. But before they retired for the night, all the men of Sodom, young and old, came from all of the city and surrounded the house. They shouted to Lot, "Where are the men who came to spend the night with you? Bring them out to us so we can have sex with them." So Lot stepped outside to talk to them, shutting the door behind him. "Please, my brothers," he begged, "don't do such a wicked thing. Look, I have 2 virgin daughters. Let me bring them out to you, and you can do with them as you wish. But please leave these men alone, for they are my guests and under my protection." "Stand back," they shouted. "This fellow came to town as an outsider, and now he's acting like our judge. We'll treat you far worse than those other men." And they lunged toward Lot to break down the door. But the 2 angels reached out, pulled Lot into the house, and bolted the door. Then they blinded all the men, young and old, who were at the door of the house, so they gave up trying to get inside. Meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. "Do you have any other relatives here in the city?" they asked. "Get them out of this place, your sons-in-laws, sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great it has reached the Lord. He has sent us to destroy it." So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, "Quick, get out of the city. The Lord is about to destroy it." But the young men thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. "Hurry," they said to Lot. "Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city." When Lot still hesitated, the angel seized his hand in the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city, for the Lord was merciful. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, "Run for your lives, and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away." "Oh no, my lord," Lot begged. "You have been so gracious to me and saved my life, and you have shown such great kindness, but I cannot go to the mountains. Disaster would catch up to me there, and I would soon die. See, there is a small village nearby. Please let me go there instead. Don't you see how small it is? Then my life will be saved." "All right," the angel said. "I will grant your request. I will not destroy the little village. But hurry, escape to it, for I can do nothing until you arrive there." This explains why the village was known as Zoar, which means little place. Lot reached the village just as the sun was rising over the horizon. Then the Lord rained down fire and burning sulfur from the sky on Sodom and Gomorrah. He utterly destroyed them, along with the other cities and villages of the plain, wiping out all the people and every bit of vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Abraham got up early that morning and hurried out to the place where he had stood in the Lord's presence. He looked out across the plain toward Sodom and Gomorrah and watched as the columns of smoke rose from the cities like smoke from a furnace. But God had listened to Abraham's request and kept Lot safe, removing him from the disaster that engulfed the cities of the plain. Afterward, Lot left Zoar because he was afraid of the people there, and he went to live in a cave in the mountains with his 2 daughters. One day, the older daughter said to his sister, "There are no men left anywhere in this area. so he can't get married like everyone else. And our father will soon be too old to have children. Come, let's get him drunk with wine, and then we will have sex with him. That way we will preserve our family line through our father." So that night they got him drunk with wine, and the older daughter went in and had intercourse with her father. He was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. The next morning, the older daughter said to her younger sister, "Had sex with our father last night. Let's get him drunk with wine again tonight, and you go in and have sex with him. That way we will preserve our family line through our father." So that night they got him drunk with wine again, and the younger daughter went in and had intercourse with him. As before, he was unaware of her lying down or getting up again. As a result, both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their own father. When the older daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Moab. He became the ancestor of the nation known as the Moabites. When the younger daughter gave birth to a son, she named him Ben-Ami. He became the ancestor of the nation known as the Ammonites. Abraham moved south to the Negev and lived for a while between Kadesh and Shur, and then he moved on to Gerar. While living there as a foreigner, Abraham introduced his wife Sarah by saying, "She is my sister." So King Abimelech of Gerar sent for Sarah and had her brought to him at his palace. But that night God came to Abimelech in a dream and told him, "You are a dead man, for that woman you have taken is already married." But Abimelech had not slept with her yet, so he said, "Lord, will you destroy an innocent nation? Didn't Abraham tell me she is my sister?" And she herself said, "Yes, he is my brother. I acted in complete innocence. My hands are clean." In the dream, God responded, "Yes, I know you are innocent. That's why I kept you from sinning against me, and why I did not let you touch her. Now return the woman to her husband, and he will pray for you, for he is a prophet. Then you will live. But if you don't return her to him, you can be sure that you and all your people will die." Abimelech got up early the next morning and quickly called all his servants together. When he told them what had happened, his men were terrified. Then Abimelech called for Abraham. "What have you done to us?" he demanded. "What crime have I committed that deserves treatment like this, making me and my kingdom guilty of this great sin? No one should ever do what you have done. Whatever possessed you to do such a thing?" Abraham replied, "I thought, this is a godless place. They will want my wife and will kill me to get her. And she really is my sister, for we both have the same father, but different mothers. And I married her. When God called me to leave my father's home and travel to a plate from place to place, I told her, 'Do me a favor. Wherever we go, tell the people that I am your brother.' Then Abimelech took some of his sheep and goats, cattle, and male and female servants, and he presented them to Abraham. He also returned his wife Sarah to him. Then Abimelech said, 'Look over my land and choose any place where you would like to live.' And he said to Sarah, 'Look, I am giving your brother 1,000 pieces of silver in the presence of all these witnesses. This is to compensate you for any wrong I may have done to you. This will settle any claim against me, and your reputation cleared.' Then Abraham prayed to God, and God healed Abimelech, his wife, and his female servants so they could have children. For the Lord had caused all the women to be infertile because of what had happened with Abraham's wife Sarah. The Lord kept his word and did for Sarah exactly what he promised. She became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son for Abraham in his old age. This happened at just the time God had said it would. And Abraham named their son Isaac. 8 days after Isaac was born, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when Isaac was born. And Sarah declared, "God has brought me laughter. All who hear about this will laugh with me." Who would have said to Abraham that Sarah would nurse a baby? Yet I have given Abraham a son in his old age. When Isaac grew up and was about to be weaned, Abraham prepared a huge feast to celebrate the occasion. But Sarah saw Ishmael, the son of Abraham, and her Egyptian servant Hagar, making fun of her son Isaac. So she turned to Abraham and demanded, "Get rid of that slave woman and her son. He is not going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac. I won't have it." This upset Abraham very much because Ishmael was his son. But God told Abraham, "Don't be upset over the boy and your servant. Do whatever Sarah tells you, for Isaac is the son through whom your descendants will be counted. But I will also make a nation of descendants of Hagar's sons because he is your son too." So Abraham got up early the next morning, prepared food and a container of water, and strapped them on Hagar's shoulders. Then he sent her away with their son, and she wandered aimlessly in the wilderness of Beersheba. When the water was gone, she put the boy in the shade of a bush. Then she went and sat down by herself about 100 yards away. "I don't want to watch the boy die," she said as she burst into tears. But God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven, "Hagar, what's wrong? Don't be afraid. God has heard the boy crying as he lies there. Go to him and comfort him, for I will make a great nation from his descendants." Then God opened Hagar's eyes, and she saw a well full of water. She quickly filled her water container and gave the boy a drink. And God was with the boy as he grew up in the wilderness. He became a skillful archer, and he settled in the wilderness of Paran. His mother arranged for him to marry a woman from the land of Egypt. About this time, Abimelech came with Phicol, his army commander, to visit Abraham. "God is obviously with you, helping you in everything you do," Abimelech said. "Swear to me in God's name that you will never deceive me, my children, or any of my descendants. I have been loyal to you, so now swear that you will be loyal to me and to this country where you are living as a foreigner." Abraham replied, "Yes, I swear to it." Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well that Abimelech's servants had taken by force from Abraham's servants. "This is the first I've heard of it," Abimelech answered. "I have no idea who is responsible. You have never complained about this before." Abraham then gave some of his sheep, goats, and cattle to Abimelech, and they made a treaty. But Abraham also took 7 additional female lambs and set them off by themselves. Abimelech asked, "Why have you set these 7 apart from the others?" Abraham replied, "Please accept 7 lambs to show your agreement that I dug this well." Then he named the place Beersheba, which means well of the oath, because that was where they had sworn the oath. After making their covenant at Beersheba, Abimelech left with Phicol, the commander of his army, and they returned home to the land of the Philistines. Then Abraham planted a tamarisk tree at Beersheba, and there he worshipped the Lord, eternal God. And Abraham lived as a foreigner in Philistine country for a long time. Sometime later, God tested Abraham's faith. "Abraham," God called. "Yes," he replied, "here I am." "Take your son, your only son, yes, Isaac, whom you love so much, and go to the land of Moriah. Go and sacrifice him as a burnt offering on one of the mountains, which I will show you." The next morning, Abraham got up early, saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his servants with him, along with his son Isaac. Then he chopped wood for a fire, for a burnt offering, and set out for the place God had told him about. On the 3rd day of their journey, Abraham looked up and saw the place in the distance. "Stay here with the donkey," Abraham told the servants. "The boy and I will travel a little farther. We will worship there, and then we will come right back." So Abraham placed the wood for the burnt offering on Isaac's shoulders, while he himself carried the fire and the knife. As the 2 of them walked on together, Isaac turned to Abraham and said, "Father?" "Yes, my son," Abraham replied. "We have the fire and the wood," the boy said. "Well, where is the sheep for the burnt offering?" "God will provide a sheep for the burnt offering, my son," Abraham answered, and they both walked on together. When they arrived at the place where God had told him to go, Abraham built an altar and arranged the wood on it. Then he tied his son Isaac and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. And Abraham picked up the knife to kill his son as the sacrifice. At that moment, the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abraham, Abraham. Yes, Abraham replied, Here I am. Don't lay a hand on the boy, the angel said. Do not hurt him in any way, for now I know that you truly fear God. You have not withheld from me even your son, your only son. Then Abraham looked up and saw a ram caught by its horns in a thicket. So he took the ram and sacrificed it as a burnt offering in place of his son. Abraham named the place Yahweh Yireh, which means the Lord will provide. To this day, people still use that name as a proverb. On the mountain of the Lord, it will be provided. Then the angel of the Lord called again to Abraham from heaven. This is what the Lord says. Because you have obeyed me and have not withheld even your son, your only son, I swear by my own name that I will certainly bless you. I will multiply your descendants beyond number. Like the stars in the sky and the sand on the seashore, your descendants will conquer the cities of their enemies. And through your descendants, all the nations of earth will be blessed, all because you have obeyed me. Then they returned to the servants and traveled back to Beersheba, where Abraham continued to live. Soon after this, Abraham heard that Milcah, his brother Nahor's wife, had borne Nahor 8 sons. The oldest was named Uz, the next oldest Buz, followed by Kemuel, the ancestor of the Arameans, Hezed, Hazo, Pildash, Jilleph, and Bethuel. Bethuel became the father of Rebekah. In addition to these 8 sons from Milcah, Nahor had 4 other children from his concubine Reumah. Their names were Tebah, Gaham, Tahash, and Makkah. When Sarah was 127 years old, she died at Kiriath Arba, now called Hebron, in the land of Canaan. There Abraham mourned and wept for her. Then, leaving her body, he said to the Hittite elders, Here I am, a stranger and a foreigner among you. Please sell me a piece of land so I can give my wife a proper burial. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Listen, my lord, you are an honored prince among us. Choose the finest of our tombs and bury her there. No one here will refuse to help you in this way. Then Abraham bowed low before the Hittites and said, Since you are willing to help me in this way, be so kind as to ask Ephron, son of Zohar, to let me buy his cave at Machpelah, down at the end of his field. I will pay the full price in the presence of witnesses, so I will have a permanent burial place for my family. Ephron was sitting there among the others, and he answered Abraham as the others listened, speaking publicly before all the Hittite elders of the town. No, my lord, he said to Abraham, please listen to me. I will give you the field and the cave. Here in the presence of my people, I give it to you. Go and bury your dead. Abraham again bowed low before the citizens of the land, and he replied to Ephron as everyone listened, No, listen to me. I will buy it from you. Let me pay the full price for the field so I can bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, My lord, please listen to me. The land is worth 400 pieces of silver, but what is that between friends? Go ahead and bury your dead. So Abraham agreed to Ephron's price and paid the amount he had suggested, 400 pieces of silver, weighed according to the market standard. The Hittite elders witnessed the transaction. So Abraham bought the plot of land belonging to Ephron at Machpelah near Mamre. This included the field itself, the cave that was in it, and all the surrounding trees. It was transferred to Abraham as his permanent possession in the presence of the Hittite elders at the city gate. Then Abraham buried his wife Sarah there in Canaan in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, also called Hebron. So the field and the cave were transferred from the Hittites to Abraham for use as a permanent burial place. Abraham was now a very old man, and the Lord had blessed him in every way. One day, Abraham said to his oldest servant, the man in charge of his household, Take an oath by putting your hand under my thigh. Swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and earth, that you will not allow my son to marry one of these local Canaanite women. Go instead to my homeland, to my relatives, and find a wife there for my son." The servant asked, "What if I can't find a young woman who is willing to travel so far from home? Should I then take Isaac there to live among your relatives in the land you came from?" "No," Abraham responded. "Be careful never to take my son there. For the Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and my native land, solemnly promised to give this land to my descendants. He will send his angel ahead of you, and he will see to it that you find a wife there for my son. If she is unwilling to come back to you, then you are free from this oath of mine. But under no circumstance are you to take my son there." So the servant took an oath by putting his hand under the thigh of his master Abraham. He swore to follow Abraham's instructions. Then he loaded 10 of Abraham's camels with all kinds of expensive gifts from his master, and he traveled to distant Aram Naharaim. There he went to the town where Abraham's brother Nahor had settled. He made the camels kneel beside a well just outside the town. It was evening, and the women were coming out to draw water. "O Lord, God of my master Abraham," he prayed, "please give me success today, and show unfailing love to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here beside this spring, and the young women of this town are coming out to draw water. This is my request. I will ask one of them, 'Please give me a drink from your jug.' If she says yes, have a drink, and I will water your camels too. Let her be the one you have selected as Isaac's wife. This is how I will know that you have shown unfailing love to my master." Before he had finished praying, he saw a young woman named Rebekah coming out with her water jug on her shoulder. She was the daughter of Bethuel, who was the son of Abraham's brother Nahor and his wife Milcah. Rebekah was very beautiful and old enough to be married, but she was still a virgin. She went down to the spring, filled her jug, and came up again. Running over to her, the servant said, "Please, give me a little drink of water from your jug." "Yes, my lord," she replied. "Have a drink." She quickly lowered her jug from her shoulder and gave him a drink. When she had given him a drink, she said, "I'll draw water for your camels too, until they have had enough to drink." So she quickly emptied her jug into the watering trough and ran back to the well to draw water for all his camels. The servant watched her in silence, wondering whether or not the Lord had given him success in his mission. Then at last, when the camels had finished drinking, he took out a gold ring for her nose and 2 gold bracelets for her wrist. "Whose daughter are you?" he asked. "And please tell me, would your father have any room to put us up for the night?" "I'm the daughter of Bethuel," she replied. "My grandparents are Nahor and Milcah. Yes, we have plenty of straw and feed for the camels, and we have room for guests." The man bowed low and worshipped the Lord. "Praise the Lord, the God of my master Abraham," he said. "The Lord has showed unfailing love and faithfulness to my master, for he has led me straight to my master's relatives." The young woman ran home to tell her family everything that had happened. Now Rebekah had a brother named Laban, who came out to meet the man at the spring. He had seen the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, and had heard Rebekah tell what the man had said. So he rushed out to the spring where the man was still standing beside his camels. Laban said to him, "Come and stay with us, you who are blessed by the Lord. Why are you standing here outside the town, when I have a room all ready for you and a place prepared for the camels?" So the man went home with Laban, and Laban unloaded the camels, gave him straw for their bedding, fed them, and provided water for the man and the camel drivers to wash their feet. Then food was served. But Abraham's servant said, "I don't want to eat until I have told you why I have come." "All right," Laban said, "tell us." "I'm Abraham's servant," he explained, "and the Lord has greatly blessed my master. He has become a wealthy man. The Lord has given him flocks of sheep and goats, herds of cattle, a fortune in silver and gold, and many male and female servants and camel and donkeys. When Sarah, my master's wife, was very old, she gave birth to my master's son, and my master has given him everything he owns. And my master made me take an oath. He said, "Do not allow my son to marry one of the local Canaanite women. Go instead to my father's house, to my relatives, and find a wife there for my son." But I said to my master, "What if I can't find a young woman who is willing to go back with me?" He responded, "The Lord, in whose presence I have lived, will send his angel with you and make your mission successful. Yes, you must find a wife for my son from among my relatives, from my father's family. Then you will have fulfilled your obligation. But if you go to my relatives and they refuse to let her go with you, you will be free from my oath." So today, when I came to the spring, I prayed this prayer: "O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please give me success on this mission. See, I am standing here beside this spring. This is my request. When a young woman comes to draw water, I will say to her, 'Please, give me a little drink of water from your jug.' If she says, 'Yes, have a drink,' I will draw water for your camels too. Let her be the one you have selected to be the wife of my master's son." Before I had finished praying in my heart, I saw Rebekah coming out with her water jug on her shoulder. She went down to the spring and drew water. So I said to her, "Please give me a drink." She quickly lowered her jug from her shoulder and said, "Yes, have a drink, and I will water your camels too." So I drank, and then she watered the camels. Then I asked, "Whose daughter are you?" She replied, "I am the daughter of Bethuel, and my grandparents are Nahor and Milcah." So I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrist. Then I bowed low and worshipped the Lord. I praised the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, because he had led me straight to my master's niece to be his son's wife. So tell me, will you or won't you show unfailing love and faithfulness to my master? Please tell me yes or no, and then I'll know what to do next." Then Laban and Bethuel replied, "The Lord has obviously brought you here, so there is nothing we can say. Here is Rebekah. Take her and go. Yes, let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has directed." When Abraham's servants heard their answer, he bowed down to the ground and worshipped the Lord. Then he brought out silver and gold jewelry and clothing and presented them to Rebekah. He also gave expensive presents to her brother and mother. Then they ate their meal, and the servant and the men with him stayed there overnight. But early the next morning, Abraham's servant said, "Send me back to my master." "But we want Rebekah to stay with us at least 10 days, her brother and mother said. "Then she can go." But he said, "Don't delay me. The Lord has made my mission successful. Now send me back so I can return to my master." Well, they said, "We'll call Rebekah and ask her what she thinks." So they called Rebekah. "Are you willing to go with this man?" they asked her. And she replied, "Yes, I will go." So they said goodbye to Rebekah and sent her away with Abraham's servant and his men. The woman who had been Rebekah's childhood nurse went along with her. She gave her this blessing as she parted: "Our sister, may you become the mother of many millions. May your descendants be strong and conquer the cities of their enemies." Then Rebekah and her servant girls mounted the camels and followed the man. So Abraham's servants took Rebekah and went on his way. Meanwhile, Isaac, whose home was in the Negev, had returned from Beer Lahai Roi. One evening, as he was walking and meditating in the fields, he looked up and saw the camels coming. When Rebekah looked up and saw Isaac, she quickly dismounted her camel. "Who is that man walking through the fields to meet us?" she asked the servant. He replied, "It is my master." So Rebekah covered her face with the veil. Then the servant told Isaac everything he had done. And Isaac brought Rebekah into his mother Sarah's tent, and she became his wife. He loved her deeply, and she was a special comfort to him after the death of his mother. Abraham married another wife, whose name was Keturah. She gave birth to Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. Dedan's descendants were the Ashurites, Letushites, and Lemuites. Midian's sons were Ephah, Epher, Hanok, Abida, and Eldah. These were all the descendants of Abraham through Keturah. Abraham gave everything he owned to his son Isaac. But before he died, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines and sent them off to a land in the east away from Isaac. Abraham lived for 175 years. He died at a ripe old age, having lived a long and satisfying life. He breathed his last and joined his ancestors in death. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. This was the field Abraham had purchased from the Hittites and where he buried his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who settled near Beer Lahai Roi in the Negev. All right. That is our reading for today. A good little chunk. Thank you all for being here, by the way. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening. As we completed the story of Abraham and his journey today. So, last reading was on Thursday. We did the story of Abram. And this is the same person that became Abraham today at the beginning of our reading. Got a name change. His wife, Sarai, got a name change to Sarah. And we have quite the stuff to talk about. But let me just pause for a second, sip coffee, drink a little water, think about what I want to talk about. There's so much we can talk about. All right, so today's parcel of scripture that we read, Genesis 17 through part of 25 here, right? We get the name change, as I said, of Abram to Abraham, continuation of that story. First, there's just some like absolutely very human moments in these stories. First, Abraham and Sarah, like they're like super old, nearly 190 years old, and somebody says you're gonna have a baby. I mean, look, I have 6 kids. Abraham laughed, and then Sarah laughed, and she gets called out on it, and I still wouldn't stop laughing, probably. Honestly, I don't know if you call me a skeptic because of it, right? Like, God didn't say, he didn't necessarily condemn them for laughing. He just asked why. Why did they laugh? Like, there's a little unbelief, right? There's so much there's unbelief for some of the things that can happen in our lives and sometimes we feel too old. We feel we can't, that season or whatever season can't happen for us. And even like the patriarch of faith in Abraham, right? Consider the patriarch of faith like laughing, and his wife's laughing, and I just don't blame him at all. It's just so human. One thing that just notice about in the story of Abraham is that he gets directive from God. Even back when he was Abram, he gets a directive from God. He does not waste time getting it done. He doesn't waste time getting it done. And that's such a great characteristic. I wish that I wasn't a procrastinator, but I am not Uh, it's just something to be inspired by. When the call comes in for something, you are ready, and you're ready for anything because you're walking in a relationship with somebody that you trust, right? And they ask you to do something and you do it, even if it makes so little sense. He gets a covenant and he does it. It says the next day, right? As soon as the covenant was given, he accepted and did it with self, with all the people around him. Shortly after, people come to visit because they're going to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. He's in this relationship with the Lord and just is willing to ask for questions. He knows Lot lives there, right? Lot's his nephew. He knows Lot lives in that area, and he's told what's about to happen, right? That's that question. Should I tell Abraham? The Lord asked, should I tell him? And he does. And he just pleading for mercy for people that he feels deserve it. Whether they do or not, I don't know, but does, right? Doesn't waste any time. Anyways, you see that journey, and then he goes, like, the angels go on, and you kind of see this journey a little differently with Lot, right? He gets this news from the angels. Like, he's very hospitable too. Um, Trying to host them. He knows the town's probably not that great because he's like, don't stay in the city square, come into my place. Um, we have to talk about this. Like, it's like there are some really hard parts of the Bible. We're not going to skip over any of them, right? We talked about circumcision today. All right, so there's a lot of things that are culturally different in this day and age, of course. But the man has two daughters, right? And so he invites these people into his home, feeds them, takes care of them, and men of the city all surround. They're basically in attack mode. They want what they want. That give us these people so we can do what we want with them. And Lot's like, look, I took them in. They're my protection. They're under my roof. I'm going to protect them. You guys go away. Don't. But just to satisfy your craving, I'm going to give you my virgin daughters. Like, this is like such a gross thing. Fast forward a little bit. The city gets destroyed. Lot and his family run away, but his wife looks back. She becomes the pillar of salt. And then they're kind of just afraid, right? They're afraid of what's going to happen to them. Like, everything about their life has changed. And then, so the women who were going to be thrown out to the men of the city to be, probably raped, like, um, they get spared by the angels, but now they're freaking out because they're living in a cave with their dad, and there's no people around them, and they're in hiding, right? Uh, and they're like, what's a great idea? Let's get pregnant from our dad. Ugh. I mean, like, and I know, like, culturally, this is about like continuation of family line, people taking care of it, right? Kids took care of their parents when they got older, so they're like, we need somebody to take care of us. Our dad's getting old, like, but like, this is like such a weak story, and you're like, why is it in the Bible, right? Why why do we have to talk about this? Why do we talk about these weird things? I don't want that. We just don't trust that God will continue to come through, I guess. I don't know. Like, God just came through and saved their lives, and they maybe don't realize it. You know, And then you start to do weird things after that because you're just in fear. Like, fear is such a bad place to live. Um, so take that in context. Like, Abraham has just prayed for and cares for Lot and interceded and tried to make sure that they were safe, Lot and his family. And and they were because of Abraham, right? And for Lot to like choose to go to a cave and not go back to Abraham, even though he's probably lost everything, like that just seems weird, right? And then you have the reverse story of Abraham, the person that just believes because walking in a great relationship with God, like, all right, my son needs a wife. I'm giving you this journey to go on to his servant. And look, God's gonna go. You're gonna be successful. Go do it, right? Like there's so much faith in this journey, right? And right after Isaac's born, still circumcises. We've talked about that. And then um he's throwing a party for his son, and all of a sudden, Sarah's mad, like the 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 other son to the other woman. I mean, that's a weird family dynamic, right? You've got two wives, you got sons from them, you've got the whole dynamic of that just doesn't work very well, right? Um, and Sarah's like, "Got to get him out of here." Like, I don't want to. Like, that's my kid too, right? Like, he loves his kids, and then God asks him to sacrifice his own kid. Like, it's such a weird storyline. But Abraham just totally trusts God in the whole journey, right? So, why do I say all that? I want to I want to be like that, right? Like complete trust all the time. When things go wrong in life, which they inevitably do, okay? Like things just go wrong in our lives. Am I going to be more like Abraham, right? Sometimes there's challenging things. Um, but am I going to trust that God will work it out? God's got a lot of good plans for it. Or am I going to be like Lot? I trusted at one point, or his kids, right? Like, and now I'm back in fear, right? Uh, that fear versus faith, such a big part of the storyline here. Such a big part of the storyline, and that's the place that I just, I just know is the challenge. It's the challenge always of life to live in a place of wonder and amazement and potential, even despite bad things happening, right? Versus bad things have happened and now they cloud my viewpoint of what God wants to do, right? Bad things are going to happen. Okay. That's part of life, I guess. You choose which way you want to be. Do you want to be like Abraham? You want to be like Lot, and how we respond back, right? We can choose to live in isolation, and then the fear of that and whatever will happen, or we can just choose to trust that the one who loves us will take care of us. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the place we should all learn to get to. I think it's sometimes we have to learn. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way, right? Like Lot had to learn. Um, Abraham learned or just trusted, and we all get a choice just as well. Like for those that don't know, most people believe that this book was penned or at least written down by Moses. Most scholars believe it was written down by Moses, who isn't even born yet. So all these stories are just telephone, right? And that's what I was saying. Like before the story of Abraham or Abram, right? We go through 2,000 years of history very quickly because, again, it's what's told, right? I think that's a huge part of why we're doing this. Like when you have a story to tell, whether it's in your family or whatever else, um, writing it down and continuing to tell people, like some of the story will live on, right? But to tell more of it, to have more detail, to write it down, super important part of life to, to maintain some details, right? And I just there's so much that will be lost to history in my own family line because I don't know all the details, right? Some things are written down, some things are not, and some things have been told. But whether I remember them all or remember them correctly about my own family line, like very unlikely. So one of the reasons to tell each other stories and do it often about your own families, right? So that things can be preserved for your future lineage. I like that in the Bible we get some awkward parts of the story too, right? When you get awkward parts of the story that are remaining, it it brings about some more validity to it because everyone in life experiences awkward and bad things as well. When it's all just victorious things, um, if it's all just about victory, it's a very clouded view of things, right? This this tells victory and it tells defeat and it tells uh, all kinds of stuff in between, right? That's one of the things I'm learning in my parenting for sure. Um, is to have conversations about all kinds of things, right? Like we started this one today with talking about circumcision, right? And um, cutting off the foreskins, right? And then we talked about people having sex with people, right? To like have these conversations um, in a way that is natural and normal and healthy. To have those talks with your own kids as a parent, that's something I'm trying to learn, uh, so that this part of life and all parts of life is um, all parts of life can be awkward if we make it, and they can be honest and difficult because we're a little uncomfortable, right? But like you said, to talk about difficult things is important, right? And for your own journey, right? Your family didn't tell stories because they had hard lives, right? Sometimes when you have hard lives, you don't have time, you don't have margin and time for life to take to talk about things. Um, and oftentimes I mean, that's just sometimes part of life, right? I won't say that the Bible is much different. The If you look at many of the stories that are told, right, and if you look throughout time, throughout history of most of the stories told, they're generally not told by the people of less importance, if you will, in society or life. Like, those that just grind it out, as you will, kind of get lost in the shuffle a lot of times. But if you realize that you have a part in your story and in somebody else's life in any little way, and just look at your life from that story perspective, it helps you maybe see beyond just the realm of your own life and day to day, if you can. I know that that's sometimes impossible. Like, people just don't know. And sometimes they have no idea because you don't see life through that lens. Um, that life is a story. Like, you're born, grow up, you're a kid, you have parents. Might not have good ones. Might be adopted, you might be abandoned. Like, it's all part of a story, right? Like, you have jobs, you have dreams, passions, whatever. Like, part of a story. And I hope you're telling your story to someone, that someone wants to listen. People want to listen to stories. They like stories. I mean, why is the movie industry so popular? People like stories. Books been popular for a long time. People like stories. We can relate to stories, find ourselves similar to characters. So, uh, this, yeah, the soap operas, 50 years of the same line. Maybe it's been different lineages. I don't know. I don't know that soap opera that well, but I don't know if they just keep retreading the same characters, or if, like, they have kids and so on and so forth. So yeah, like, things continue, right? The Simpsons has been on. Now they don't grow because they're animated, but I mean, it's one of the longest running shows on TV as well, right? Um yeah, like, a good stories, uh are going to have both good parts and bad parts, and it's part of the journey. So don't be upset when you're in the bad season, right? Be hopeful that there's good around the corner, and find your way to it, right? Um, but probably don't be in fear and isolate yourself, live in a cave, and, you know, yeah, you might be in the cave, but it's not all dictated. That's probably not what your future is going to continue to look like, right? Hope you guys are great today. Thank you guys for stopping by the way. Wow, we have gone over an hour today. I probably need to wrap this sucker up at some point. Our stories can make a difference. Absolutely, right? That is a great point. That's a great point. Our stories can make a difference. You never know how your story, just telling it to somebody, can affect their lives in a good way, or sometimes even in a challenging way, right? Um, it can inspire somebody to something way outside of themselves, because they now know a person. Knowing a person that does something, yeah, no, I appreciate you speaking. Thank you. Just knowing a person that has gone through something, maybe it's something similar or something that you didn't really think was possible, but, like, I know this person and they're a regular human being. They're not like like they're not a super person on my spectrum. Not that anyone is better than anyone else. Like, we're all humans, right? And we're all just people, right? So, but once you know somebody who's gone through that, not just like theoretically, but you actually know them, you're like, okay, they went through this. They're a human. I know them. They're kind of a normal person like me, right? And if you have people that you think are really not normal and not like, just bring it closer together, right? They're people, and say, well, they went through it. I can probably go through it, right? Um, right? That's why we do this. That's why I'm telling this story. It's about the community. They went through it, I went through it. Okay, we're all abnormal. Nobody's normal, right? Like it's just such a weird concept anyways, right? We all have our quirks. We all have things we like. Yeah, ain't nobody normal. You're right. Nobody's normal. We're all abnormal. So just accept that, right? Like whatever you need to get into a good mind frame on the journey, let that be uh what inspires you, right? That people are people and we're similar. We have all kinds of stories. We haven't been through the same things, but somebody probably has. And I mean, just look at the Bible. You have some weird stories, right? Uh, these people went through some things, okay? They handled it some of these ways. Maybe I won't handle it that way. Maybe I'll handle it this way. Those are good things. So thank you all for being here. Let's wrap this sucker up for today. I appreciate it so much. Our next stream for Bible stories will be Tuesday at 6:33. All assuming everything's good. Thank you for hanging out with me. You guys are. Thank you. Thank you for just being part of the community in all the different facets. I really appreciate that. And this was a big story. I wanted to, I kind of want to do chunks where I can finish storylines. Probably a little bit more than we really wanted. Probably could have broke this up into two, but it's okay. It's a good place. We'll continue the story with a different main character on Tuesday, because we're all just characters on the journey. So reminder to tell your story, right? That's why we're talking about stories. Tell your story. Your story matters just as much. All right? Somebody might need to hear it. So tell it to those who will listen, and listen to their stories in reverse, right? And try, be a learner that way. Learn from their journey. All right. With that said, I will see you guys on a stream soon. Thank you for being here. West Tennessee Dave, as most of you know that are here. If you're watching these VODs later on Twitch or on YouTube, I'm West Tennessee Dave. Follow, subscribe, do whatever you have to do. And I will see you shortly. Stream soon. Thank you.